Hey everyone, I hope that you're having a good afternoon. I'm going to wait just a moment for people to join the video if they can, but if you are watching the replay, thanks for coming to listen to me. I hope that today's topic of fence sitters is timely for you since we're nearing the end of the month, and I want to congratulate all of you who have already re-ranked or promoted to lead consultant this month. That is so amazing. And I know that so many more of you are really close, and it might come down to having a new person or two join your team. Do keep in mind that for this promotion, they would need to purchase our new deluxe toolkit. That's not the right name, but I don't know, I just blanked on it for a second, but they would need to purchase the new kit so that you get that 200 CV, or they would need to sell $200 in PRV before the close of the month to count as an active leg for you. With those changes to lead consultant, you need that active leg. But, of course, keep in mind that you want to talk to them about what is best for them, whether or not the business basics kit is going to be best for them, or whether or not the new deluxe kit is going to be best for them. So let them decide what's best for them. And, in the conversation, try not to make it about your requirements, but hopefully you're able to pull those out here at the end of the month. I know that we're all cheering for you and we are excited for you. So if you are watching with me, please let me know. Give me some comments. Let me know you're here. I hope that you are having a great day. So I want to talk to you, a little bit more about what is a fence sitter. Before we go too far, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page about what is a fence sitter. So a fence sitter are people who say that they're interested in joining Jamberry, but they're just not ready to commit yet. So I'm sure you have some people who are sitting on the fence right now, and maybe they've been sitting on the fence for a while. So this training is focused specifically on how do you help them get off that fence and make a decision, right? So there are a couple of things I want to go over. First, just a few kind of general principles, guiding philosophies to keep in mind. First, it can seem obvious, but you always need to make sure that you're following up with the people who are your fence sitters. It can be so difficult to talk about recruiting, to present the opportunity. It's often, at least for me, it was one of the hardest things to discuss with people. So I get it. It can be scary. So sometimes even broaching the topic initially is hard enough, as we talked a little bit about in the last video that I did for you. So if you've brought it up and someone has, already just said maybe, or I'll think about it, or maybe even they said no, not right now, maybe in the future, that kind of thing. It may have been a while before you've gotten the courage to check back in with them again. So that's the first thing I want to remind you is a key part of working with fence sitters. Again, it seems obvious, but so important is to make sure that you follow up, that you're not letting your fear of bringing up that conversation stop you from talking to those people again. A lot of times the things that we're afraid of, the things that we're worried people might say to us in response are just stuff that we make up in our head. I have a tendency to do that. We can let our minds kind of run away from us and think, oh, they're going to be so upset, or they're going to be angry, or they're going to do X, Y, or Z. And mostly, that's usually not the case. As long as you are being genuine and real and not being, pushy or forceful, then they're probably going to be just fine with you bringing it up. But do make sure that you follow up. The next thing is another, guiding principle is keeping in mind that this is a numbers game. Prepare yourself for the fact that not everybody is going to say yes. Often, we'll get a lot more no's than we will yeses. So try not to be too overly invested in whether or not someone says yes or no. and realize that they're saying no to the opportunity, not to you. Try to take the personal out of it a little bit. But also remember that no might not mean forever. No, it might just mean not right now, right? So a little later on in the video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about, what to do with that, how to identify who to still keep on your list as a fence sitter, as a potential lead. So, as far as those numbers, the numbers game, keep in mind that you probably are going to get more no's than you will yeses. But one person, two people, three people is not going to break your business. Try to keep a long-term vision about, overall the kind of team that you want to build, and recognize that, a few conversations, a few potential leads, even them saying no is not going to mean that your business won't grow and that your business can't move forward, because it still can. So the next thing I want to think about a little bit, and so far you guys are quiet, but if you're here watching with me, let me know you're here. Let me know what questions you have, what you worry about with fence sitters. I'll try to address them as it fits in. So I brought this up a little bit already, the idea of being pushy. We worry that we're going to scare someone off, or we're going to turn them off by being too pushy. I know that being pushy was something that I worried about a lot when I first joined Jamberry. Not just with recruiting, but with sales as well. I didn't want to... Hi, Marissa. I didn't want to alienate my friends. I didn't want them to feel like they needed to hide from me or run away from me because they didn't want to get, pushed into a conversation about Jamberry. But generally, if we're worried about being pushy, then you probably have nothing to worry about. If you're checking yourself and making sure that you're being respectful and that you're not, being pushy or alienating people, then you're probably fine. And if you're still worried about it, then, simply just saying something like, no pressure, as part of your message or your conversation can ease some of that. It can make you feel better, and it can make them feel better if they at all are feeling like they're uncomfortable. So, in general, as long as you're being mindful, as long as you are focusing on them and how joining will benefit them and not as it will benefit you, as we talked a little bit about last time, then it's probably fine. So, try to keep that in mind. I also already talked a little bit about making sure that you are focused on what's going to be best for them and not how you're going to benefit personally. So, remember that being desperate is not attractive. We don't want to be that girl who is posting about what we need and how we really, really, really want and or need somebody to join our team. I know that this bonus pool incentive that we have going on this month is extremely attractive, and Jamberry, for a while now has been offering us these amazing incentives for people joining our team. We have the Jam Squad incentive every month, and this month we have the bonus pool with additional, money on the line. And, sometimes it's not just about wanting a Jam Squad, keychain. Let's face it, I would love that keychain. But, sometimes there is a lot at stake for us. Sometimes that money can really make a really huge difference in our family. It's okay for those to be some of the reasons why you do want to recruit, but it's important that that's not the way that you frame the conversation for the people who are your leads, right? So you don't want to lead or start that conversation with how you're going to benefit. So I know that we've all seen those messages on Facebook that say, I just need 2 more people to join my team and I get this awesome, X, Y, or Z. And that's not going to attract me to somebody's team. So remember, that as you are framing your discussion, don't be that girl. So those were just a couple of, general guiding principles I wanted to talk about as we're getting started. But exactly, Marissa. But the main kind of framework that I want to talk about in this video, and I promise this is not going to get too long, not like last time I got pretty long-winded, but I've got like a pretty clear outline for myself this time, so I don't wander too much. So the main thing that I want to talk to you about today in terms of fence sitters is I want to walk through like a conversation that you would have with someone, whether you're talking to them on the phone or you are sitting with them, somewhere in person, or you're having a discussion through, messages. This is a framework that you can use in any of those situations. And as we know, the more that we do something, the easier it gets. And this is kind of a framework that you could use over and over, broadly speaking. And then you would want to plug in, specifics about that person and obviously work off the conversation more naturally. But this is something that is talked about a lot in direct sales, so it's not something that came from me. I first learned about it from Jennifer Harmon, who was with Jamberry when I first joined. So I went back and reviewed some of an old training that she had done. But you may have heard this from other people. So when you're having a discussion with somebody about joining your team, one of the first questions to ask them is, what is it that attracts them to Jamberry? So try to find out from them, what do they like about Jamberry? Why are they interested in the opportunity? What is attractive about Jamberry to them? And I want you to write down their answer or really listen closely to what it is that they say, because there are probably a lot of clues in there about what it is that Jamberry might bring into their lives. Last time we talked a little bit about recruiting being heart work, about finding the ways that Jamberry fills the holes in somebody's life. And when you ask them, what is it that attracts you to Jamberry, it's very likely that they're going to give you some really big clues in their answer about what needs Jamberry might be fulfilling for them. Whether it's some money, additional money in their income, or it's time with friends, interaction with other adults, or it's, they just really love the product, or, the other reasons why people might be interested in Jamberry. So really listen to what they say. And then the next thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to be really direct. Because the conversation about recruiting can be difficult, we want to make sure that we clearly find out where someone is in terms of their interest to join Jamberry. So the direct question that you can ask them is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you? 1 being, nah, this really isn't for me, and 10, I'm ready to sign up now. And obviously if they say 10, then you can probably just end the conversation and help them sign up for Jamberry, right? That would be amazing. But most of the time, they're going to fall somewhere in between. Hopefully not a 5, because that's like right in the middle. But if they are, under a 5, I would put those people on your warm leads list and follow up maybe every 4 to 6 months. Because, if they're under a 5, they're really not that close at this moment. It doesn't mean that you should never check back in with them. You should. I said roughly in 4 to 6 months, or if there's something that changes about Jamberry, whether it's, a new product line like Color Cure, or it's an amazing incentive for joining. This month we had that with Bonus Pool. If one of those things come up, then that might be another reason to go back to that list. But for now, they're not that close to joining. So, just put them on your list and follow up with them in a few months. But anybody who says that they are 5 or above, those are the people that you want to check in more frequently. Not every day or once a week, but, more frequently. So depending on how close they are. If they're a 7 or an 8, maybe a little bit more often. If they're like a 6 or a 7, then, maybe once a month, once every 2 months, what have you. Something that feels natural for you. But no matter what they say, you can ask them, after they've given their answer on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to joining Jamboree? You can ask them, what would help you decide? Or what would help get you to a 10? What are your reservations? What are your concerns, right? It's your job to find out what their hang-up is. What is stopping them at this moment from joining Jamboree? Is it that they don't have the funds to join? Or they're feeling really overwhelmed with everything they're dealing with, and they're not sure that Jamboree can work for them right now? Or they're getting ready to go on a big vacation, like whatever it is, listen to them, find out what it is that's holding them back, and again, write down their answer. And just quickly, the reason why I ask you to write down their answer is when you go back to follow up with someone in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is, you want to be able to refresh your memory. What was it that they said? So that you can check back in with them and find out if their answers have changed. And it just helps you refresh your memory, right? So again, you want to listen. What is it that's holding you back? What would help you get to a 10? Write down your answer. Write down their answer. And I would even repeat it back to them. Say something along the lines of, so what I'm hearing from you is that it's not a good time for Jamboree because of X. Make sure that you've really understood their answer. And be prepared to respond to it. Have some responses ready for some common objections that people give. Whether it's the cost, talk to them about ways that they could generate that money, whether it's borrowing money from somebody or hosting a party and getting % off the Business Basics kit. We can no longer get % off of the, our new kit, but you still can get the % off from hosting a party and earning that through the rewards for the Business Basics. That's an opportunity, perhaps, for them to save some money on the kit. If we have an incentive, at the time, that's a good time to mention it if money is a concern. But, have some responses ready to field their objections. If it's, babysitting issues, they don't think that they have the time to fit Jamboree in their life. To keep that conversation going, you might ask them, so how much time do you think it takes to run a Jamboree business? And maybe they have different expectations about how much time you actually spend working your business. That would be something you would want to talk through with them. Tell them about the flexibility. If you're talking to them at a party, you can say, well, it really doesn't take much time beyond the time that we took tonight. We spent an hour or two running on the party. I might spend, another hour or two, following up with guests or, finding new bookings, that kind of thing. Talk to them about how you run your business and the time that you spend on it. And again, if you're talking to them at a party, you might say, tonight you spent money. Wouldn't it be awesome if you were here, but you made money because you were the consultant? So that's the other thing as you're talking to people about getting off the fence is the more that you can help them see what it's like to be a consultant and what your job really entails beyond what they've seen right in front of them, then that helps them visualize them in your shoes. So anytime you can do that in the conversation, that's really helpful, right? Some other things to consider. So if someone, this is specifically, for reaching out to someone through phone calls or text messages or Facebook Messenger, if someone is just not really responding to you, and you're starting to worry that you're harassing them or you're being kind of stalkerish, you're starting to get worried, like, what am I doing wrong? Did I scare them off? Then you might send them a message and try to lighten the mood a little bit and say, oh no, I'm sorry. I think I might have scared you off. I want to make sure that I'm not coming across as pushy, but I just wanted to check in with you one more time, keeping in mind, of course, that sometimes when people aren't getting back to you, it's not at all that they're not interested. It's just that they're busy. They had a lot of stuff on their plates, If most of us have pretty busy lives, and all the time I look at a message and then I put it down because I'm in the middle of something and then I forget to go back to it, right? We all do that. So just keep in mind that the reason why they're not getting back to you might just be because they're busy. However, if people are not responding to you, there are a couple of things that you can think about beyond lightening the pressure and saying, oh, I'm sorry if I scared you off, kind of thing. So there's some things I really want you to think about. So the first thing, are you leaving them compelling messages? Are you really inviting them and encouraging them to respond in what you're asking or how you're saying it? So here's an example. So, hey, Susan, this is Bridget. I've been thinking about you. Anytime you tell someone that you've been thinking about them, it's a good compliment. Sorry, just had to. Why does my husband always call when I'm in the middle of doing this? Let me just text him real quick. Sorry, he did that last time too. So, okay, where was I? So, let them know that you've been thinking about them. That's always a good compliment. We're going to say, you're right. Like, if you're using Facebook Messenger, you can tell if they've read the message or not. That's a good point. Sometimes they have read it and they still don't respond, right? But to get back to that idea of leaving, compelling messages, you want to say, like, hey, Susan, this is Bridget. I've been thinking about you, and I just wanted to let you know that we just came out with something that I wanted to share with you, and I know you're going to love it, so call me back or message me back, and I'll tell you what it is. So I love this because, too often, because we're worried about bothering people and we're worried about being pushy, sometimes we give them too much information up front, when what we really should do is engage them. We should tease them. We should get them interested in talking to us, as opposed to feeling like we're the ones trying to chase them down. So you just give them a little bit of information to help kind of pull them into the conversation. If you give them too much information, then they might not have to respond, or they might not be as intrigued, okay? So ask yourself, are you leaving compelling messages? Are you inviting them to come talk to you? So this is kind of the tough love part of my video. If somebody is not getting back to you, if they're really not responding to you, maybe you've reached out, once or twice, and you feel like the ball is kind of in their court. And, if you're talking to your team manager, or talking to your sponsor, whoever, and you say, well, I tried. I sent 10 messages and only one person responded to me, and, they didn't get back to me. I want you to remember that it's not their job to get back to you. It is still your job to check in with them and to follow up with them and to find out where they are. It's your responsibility to reach out to them and keep you and keep Jamberry on the forefront of their minds. Think about how many times you've gone through a catalog and found a bunch of stuff that you like, you've circled stuff you like, or folded down the corners of the pages, and, then your kids needed something and you put it down and it just got lost in a pile, right? So many times there are things that we want to do or things that we want to buy, and then we just get distracted and we move on. But, if somebody from Target called you and said, "Hey, Bridget, I know you really like those sneakers, and I just want to let you know that they're on sale this weekend, so should I go ahead and, send them to you?" Like, how many more? I already spend enough money in Target as it is, but imagine if Target called us when things we liked were on sale, right? So that's just an example. It's not our job to, be getting back to Target every time they send us a brochure or, we see their commercial. It's their job to encourage us to be shopping there, right? So, not a perfect example, but I hope you get my gist that it is important to make sure that you're the one following up with people. So many times we say, "I did X and it just didn't really work out for me." But remember, it's your job to keep following up with those people. That's why we have a list. That's why we go back to them. All right, so I'm going to finish up with just a couple of additional tips, a couple of additional things that you can say. My goal is to try to wrap this up by about 30 minutes so it doesn't get too much longer. So, additional things to keep in mind. When you are talking to people about recruiting, and I think I briefly mentioned this last time, this goes for following up with your fence sitters too. Don't give them too much information. Don't overload them. Don't feel like you have to tell them everything under the sun about Jamberry. Focus on what attracts them to Jamberry and how Jamberry fits into their lives. That's why those cues when you first start talking to them about Jamberry are so important to remember. Write them down, keep those things in mind, and focus on those things instead of maybe things that things that matter to you in Jamberry. They might be different from your recruit. Additionally, it's always great to just take some time in your power hours or whatever, set some time aside for personal and professional development. There are so many amazing tools out there for direct sales. Not only does Jamberry give us so many great trainings and great speakers and leaders in our company who pour into us about how they're being successful, but direct sales is multi-billion-dollar industry. And there are so many resources out there, so many books, so much literature, so many websites. So take some time in your power hours. Or if you're like me, download some audiobooks and listen in your car about ways that you can improve your business. And specifically, there are lots of resources out there for recruiting. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of quick ideas from a book called Go Pro. And this book has been recommended to me by so many people. Again, Go Pro is the name, and it's Eric Warr, I believe is how you pronounce the last name. Sorry, another phone call. So often when we're talking to people, we'll say, "So what do you think?" Or "What do you think about that?" As our way to try to open up the conversation. But that conversation doesn't always lead somewhere. So the advice from Go Pro is to ask more direct questions like, "Did that make sense to you?" Or "What did you like best about what you just saw or what we just talked about?" Or back to the idea of visualizing themselves in Jamberry. "Can you see how this opportunity would be for you?" Or, "Can you see how Jamberry would fit into your life?" Those questions can really help engage them in more of a conversation. And it allows you to kind of further learn about them. All right. Near the end of the discussion that you're having with someone who is one of your fence sitters, there's some great advice from Jennifer Harmon when it comes to thinking about, when they're going to join or if they're ready to join. And you can ask them to take out their calendar and take a look at when their bills are due in the month, and then a direct question that you can ask them. And this, again, connects back to helping them visualize themselves as Jamboree consultants. You can ask them, when would you like to receive your first paycheck from Jamboree? And that's a powerful question, right? Because it immediately puts it back on them and reminds them, this is something that you can make money from. This is something that can become an income for you, an income source for you. And when you frame it in those ways, it can be powerful, even though not everyone joins because of money. So, if they say back to you, they take a look at their calendar, they take a look at their bills, and they say, I would love to receive that check on the 15th of the month. Then I would say, well, in my experience, if you order your kit this day, it takes a day or two to ship, and you should have it within a week. And then you might want a couple of days to get used to the material, a couple of days to get started. But then we should have your launch party. And if your sales start coming in here, then this would give you your check right around this date. So tell me, are you ready to sign up and get that first paycheck? So again, that sounds scary, but because it's so direct, because it really frames it in terms of them visualizing themselves as part of your team, as a Jamboree consultant, it can be really powerful in engaging them in that discussion and hopefully give them a little bit of a push if they're close to coming down off that fence. So I hope that that's really helpful to you. One other tip in having them kind of visualize what their lives could be like with Jamboree. This is, again, another kind of income-related thing. But you might ask them, if you got started on a part-time basis, how much would you like to earn? Or how much would make you interested in doing this full-time? And ask them, approximately how many hours a week would you like to devote to this to get that income? How many months do you think it would take you to develop that kind of income? And then if I could show you, you take all their answers to those questions, and I'll put those on a slide for you so you can see them all. But, if I could show you how to develop X income working X hours over the course of X months, would you be ready to get started today? And if they say, sure, yeah, I'd love to know more. You can take out the comp plan, you can talk to them about at what levels, what money is possible, and sketch out a plan for their goals. Let them know that this is how hard they have to work, or this is the kind of things that they need to do to make that income, and show them that you're going to help them do it. We haven't talked too much about this, but I'm going to finish up with this, is one of the things that for me makes Jamboree so unique and so attractive compared to other direct sales companies that I've learned about is that we really are a sisterhood. We really do support each other. I think Jamboree consultants, largely and widely, we are not upset or intimidated or threatened by other consultants' success. And it's so amazing the way that we come together and we cheer each other on and we support each other. We share our resources. We are not greedy with the things that are working for us. We don't hold them close and keep them secret. Jamboree consultants are so generous. It's part of our core values. So showing people that they are going to have support as they're starting this business, as they're taking this leap, it is scary for people who are joining too. Remember how nervous you were. Remember the doubts that you had when you first got started. I had doubts, I had fears, but those quickly went away because I realized how much support there was. And for me, that's the thing that I love most about Jamboree. I would not be where I am without other people's help. And if you can show that as you're talking to your fence sitters, show them how unique it is to have this much support, and show them as their sponsor that you're invested and keyed in to their success and their goals, that's huge. All of you ladies can do this. All of you can build your teams this month and the months moving forward. The most important part is that you be more direct and that you follow up more often with these people who are thinking about it, but just need a little bit more of a push. So I hope that that's been helpful for you. I'm doing this middle of the day, so not a ton of viewers, but please feel free to comment and leave your questions and I'll respond to you. I'm going to post some recap slides as well as your homework. But thanks for hanging out with me today, Marissa. And, let's finish this month strong and get some of those people off the fence. Good luck, ladies. I know you can do it.